Hey, 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 welcome to a Sassy Ladies podcast. This is our first episode of Sassy Ladies, and I'm sitting here. My name is Chancellor Williams, and I'm your fantabulous co-host, and I have my other fantabulous co-host. You get to see her right now, Miss Shonda Purnell.
Hello, sweet babies.
Our topic for today is masculinity versus femininity. But before we get into that, we have to thank our sponsor, Ball and Ball Communications, located in Laurel, Maryland. Ball and Ball Communications have been serving the community and law enforcement with lighting, sirens, and accessories. So if you're a government official and you need work done to your cars, hit up Eric Ball of Ball and Ball Communications. Their number is 301-490-1587. Now back to this fantastic topic that we're talking today, because word on the streets from men is that us women are acting too masculine. And we want to dive into what that might be or how that role was established amongst us women. And majority of the time this is because the man is not either present in the home or is in the home and not really present. And so we're going to talk a little bit biblically about what the roles were originally supposed to be, because if with anything you have to have standards in order, and God has placed order on the gender roles when it comes to men and women, not minimizing our role, but our roles are totally different when it comes to the family dynamic.
Absolutely. So, God created Adam first, and he created him in his image. As we know, we created him from the earth, from dust. Then he created Eve. He created Eve down the line because he figured he needs a helpmate. He needs a partner. He wasn't complete without Eve.
Yeah.
So he then created this woman for him as his helpmate. He created Adam first. Then Eve. Let's get that straight. We need to know that. Adam first. And again, we're not saying that Eve doesn't have a purpose, that she wasn't created. She does. She has a purpose. She was created as his helpmate to get all of those things done that he couldn't do, including, and we're going to take this to the household. So in the household, when a man is absent from the household, it creates imbalance. It's tilted. It's unstable. It's rocky. It's confusing. Children become confused.
Yes.
Girls seeing their mothers take on that role, and that role of being mother and father. And this is children react by the way you do things in your house. The way you position I'm sorry, you guys. The way you run your household. So if you don't have a man running your household and that woman is running everything, children learn by seeing. You can always chastise your child. They hear you, but when they see you doing things, this is demonstration. This is the way children learn. So if I only have a mother in my house and this woman is doing absolutely everything, what am I going to choose when I grow up?
Yeah, the men.
I don't know how to choose.
The men normally choose women who are dominant because it's like a mother figure. And I see a lot of women saying, I'm not your mother. No, you're not his mother, because he should have been raised with the characteristics of how to be a man. And us women, we can't teach boys how to be a man. We can teach our daughters how to be daughters, and we can teach our sons how to respect women, but we can't teach him how to be a man. And so when that dynamic is not in the household structurally correct, it tends, or if he doesn't have that mentor or that male figure to come along and say, hey, this is how men do. This is how men provide for their women. Then that communication piece that boys learn, they don't have it. So they wind up being grown men who being taking care of women. And we're not saying women that you shouldn't help, because you're a helpmeet with your man, but you can't give him ambition. He has to have that on his own. He has to have the knowledge and the leadership to be a leader. So when you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, you both have to have a vision for that relationship.
Absolutely.
Because if
Absolutely.
you don't, it doesn't mean that because we have this vision for our relationship that as individuals we can't be individuals. That's not what that means. That means that, okay, now these two couples are coming together, they're individuals. What is the dynamics of the vision for our life as a family unit?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that structure where you're not being emotional intelligent to be able to have these conversations, because I could say in my situation, when I did not vet the men that I chose to have children with, because my mentality was nothing like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I continue to grow and observe, I learned patterns, and I had to evaluate and say, hey, this is what I'm going to accept and this is what I'm not going to accept in this relationship, because I felt by having both genders,
Mm-hmm.
both male and female, that I'm responsible for both. So I have to teach my daughter what not to accept for a man, and then I have to teach my sons also what not to accept from women, but also to be responsible young men to be able to appreciate the woman that they have.
Which shouldn't be your role though, as a with
Right.
you
It
with your boys.
shouldn't.
It shouldn't be your role. That is his role. When you have sons, men, when you have sons, it's your responsibility to take them under your wing, show them how they are to treat a woman, respect in the house, respect everything in the house. You have to show your men that you do not sit on your butt
Mm-hmm.
and allow this woman to run your house. It is your responsibility to run your house. Men are the foundation
Yeah. Yeah.
of a household.
Yeah.
So we're going to put this like a business. A man is the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And then he appoints her to be his supervisor. So she supervises everything in the house. What he doesn't see, she's the one that sees it. She gets this in order, this in order. We're not saying she doesn't have a role and she should be meek and sit back in the background and wait on him to do everything for her. That's not why God created woman. We are that helpmate. We are that person to say, okay, I'm going to allow this man to take control of his household. I'm not going to chastise him in front of my children. I
Mm-hmm.
will not belittle him in front of my children. And men should come with ambition, but we should also be encouraging with their ambition. That's what our role is. Not that they don't encourage us, because they do.
Yeah.
You should get a man that's encouraging and loving and all of these things, because then what we're doing is we're producing great women and men in society. And
Yeah.
if when you don't have that, your children are off balance. Your women become your daughters become more masculine. Your men, your
Come on.
boys become more feminine.
Yeah.
They don't know the difference, because all I see is this woman here
Mm-hmm.
taking care of everything, and my father or the man is not available for me. I can't go to my mother with male issues and expect her to understand. She cannot lead and guide a man and what he needs, a young man, and what he needs in life. That is what your father is there for.
Yeah.
He's to lead and guide that man and tell him, this is what you should be doing and this is what you shouldn't be doing. And again, you lead by example. The things that you do in your household, your children are watching you all the time.
All the time.
They're watching everything you do. You're their first and last teacher.
Yes. Yes. You're the first role model.
First role model to
And
them.
what I've noticed in our generation um of men, a lot of men do not know how to do certain things. Like with my dad, he could build and fix things. He was like, before I call somebody in to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tear it up myself. Once I tear it up, then I'll call somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed from our generation is that most men don't know how to fix things, and then they don't have the means to be able to take care of it.
Mm-mm.
And so how are you um getting into these relationships and not being able to be that provider, that protector, that person that comes in, like if something break down or your car break down? Like I know some men, especially with my uncles, they make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the car, the house, everything is situated. Only thing my mother had to do was take care of the household. She took her money and paid the light bills, made sure we had clothes, and made sure we had money to go on vacation. But my father paid the mortgage, made sure my mother had a brand new car. Like I looked at Dallas. I was looking at Dallas, and I said, "Oh, they had those cars back then." I said, "No wonder my parents had those cars because they was the latest cars that was out at
Mm-hmm.
that time." So I seen that growing up. I seen what the male dynamic was supposed to be, far as being a protector, but
Mm-hmm.
also what I experienced because my parents wind up divorcing when I was 12. What I seen on the negative side of it is the after fact, when my father should have been present for me being a female to still
Absolutely.
establish what that dominancy is for a male's role and what
Absolutely.
I should look for.
Right.
I did not receive that knowledge. That my knowledge came from trial and error. And as you know, and if you're the type of person that's been through trial and error, you know that's not the right
Path.
path
Mm-hmm.
or the right learning that you
Mm-hmm.
should take.
Mm-hmm.
So now as an adult, I'm 50 by the way. I got a birthday tomorrow. Yes, yes, yes. I had to observe and learn, but it took growth within me to say that, hey, you know, the next male person that I becomes my husband, I know now what to look for. And if he's not able to be a leader in its own right, you know, I can't mess with him. I can't
No,
fool
you
with him.
can't because you're again you're doing everything. You become exhausted. You don't know where your femininity lies anymore. You don't have it. You can't. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for your children. You do only have time for your children.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the becomes the soul of your
But you
existence.
know what else, sis? You don't have time for your children because if you're doing everything, you're just like the meal that
Absolutely.
probably come in and just okay, I come in, I get everything ready, and now I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna do this, and the kids is like, be present with me. They want to tell you about your day. I'm not saying that this applies to everybody, so don't come for us in the DMs, okay? It doesn't. But what I've observed is for me, by me doing everything, I wasn't present for my kids. When they wanted to say things or wanted to share things with me, in my soul, I listened. I was there listening, but I wasn't really present because I was thinking about the next thing that I had to
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
and how long it was going to take me so I
Mm-hmm.
can get to a moment where I had some breathing room to just
Mm-hmm.
sit back and relax and get
Mm-hmm.
my own thoughts together. And that's not fair to the kids.
It's not. It's not fair. It's not fair to your household at all. It's not fair to the children. Children need that time with you. They need that nurturing mother. They need all of those things that will allow them to become successful and functioning adults.
Yeah.
When you take those things out of the household, and I'm here cooking. I have to work.
Mm-hmm.
I come home, I have to feed my children. I have to help them with their homework.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure everyone has a bath. How much time in the evening does a woman have once she comes home from work
I used to
with
say,
her children?
look, I'm about to clock out here and clock in at
Yep. And
home.
clock in at
Because
home.
that's literally
That's
it's a
exactly what you're
job.
doing. And then you don't have that helpmate that says, okay, I'm going when she comes home because she has if you have to work as a woman, hopefully some of us in future don't have to work. You will have that man that can take care of the house, take care of his house, and you can take care of the household. But most of us do have to work.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us today, we do have to work. And some of us want to work. Women have careers, women have things they want to do. We're not saying that you shouldn't do follow your dreams, always follow your dreams, or whatever God put in you, always follow your dreams. But you don't have time when it's not a partner. There's no balance in your house because you can't balance by yourself.
Nope.
You can't get on a seesaw by yourself
No, you
and
have to have
expect.
that other
You got to
person.
have that other person. You need balance in the house. You
Yeah.
need that man to say, okay, I'm gonna give you a moment. I'm gonna take the kids outside and throw the ball with the boys. I'm gonna push my daughter on the swing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be present in their life for just that moment so that because you're working as well as I am and you're coming home and you're cooking.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a man who likes to cook, thank God, but that would be great. But if you don't, then he comes in, he takes over from that point and says, I'm going to give my wife a break for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do have time to settle down after dinner once you give the kids, take care of the children, to sit down with your husband and vent.
Mm-hmm.
This is the man, this is your helpmate. This is the person that the person that God gave you. This is the one you should be talking to.
Yeah.
Not talking at, ladies, but talking to.
Two.
Discussing things, figuring things out, how the house is going to go. And we do not run over our husbands, especially not in front of our children. You don't do that because you're teaching your daughters that I control my man. You're teaching your sons that I am a weak individual. This is the way I'm supposed to be. And this is the type of woman I'm going to choose who's going to control me. We don't want to control our men. We don't want to do that. We want that balance.
Yeah.
You need that. It's equal. It's equal amount. I mean, God did make him head. He did make him head because he is the stronger being. He made men are naturally stronger than we are in the physical and in the mental on some notes, not everything, ladies, because we do see things they don't see.
Our intuitiveness be on point.
On point.
And he gave us our intuitiveness
absolutely
so that we could see the things that he
cannot see.
Because most men are logical where we are more emotional. You know, so we kind of see and feel energy different than they will. Not saying that men are not intuitive because they are.
They can
They're just
be.
not tapped in as deep as we are. Because,
which becomes balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which creates balance. You need the two. And that's why you need both partners in the house.
Yeah. But most of all, I think with men, you have to have, like I said, that vision to know where your relationship is going for the family. And both of you guys got to creatively come up with ideas and a plan for what that is. What I've noticed in my own relationships in the past, the guys that I was dealing with didn't want to talk about bills. Like, how you not talk about bills when we trying to buy a house and get somewhere? And you got to have a budget. You have to know what that looked like.
Or a savings account.
Yeah, you have to know that. Yeah. And if you don't have the means to be able to save anything, then we got to look at the income that's coming in. What can we do collectively to gain more income? And then as we get it, that don't mean go spend and buy more things that you don't need. That means, okay, let's create a savings. When we get this side hustle that I'm doing, you know, I felt like, okay, communication. But I felt that he didn't put enough ambition in to do things. Now, for some reason, I was attracted to street dudes. And I felt like street dudes had more hustle, you know, because they were street dudes. But not that one. Okay?
Not
because I didn't want him to go.
Not necessarily, because most street dudes, why are you in the streets? You have to make a living. You have to supplement your income because you don't have that father in your household.
Right.
You don't have that man showing you that there's another way to do things. They do what they have to do to supplement their income.
And I get that.
And they miss what?
They missed that in between part.
They missed that in between.
But when we got together, I wouldn't say that he was all street. He was doing a little bit of both. And I said, okay, I understand you got to get in where you fit in, but at the same time, let's elevate this. Let's get you to where you have some certifications behind you. You know what I'm saying? And then you take that and open up your own business.
And that's a helpmate.
Okay. I'm trying to elevate you because I come from a background of family members who own their own businesses. So if I didn't feel like I wanted to do business, I would like the medical field because I felt more nurturing in that aspect. My first medical job was a CNA. I only had that job because my grandmother went into a nursing home. And I heard so much horror stories about it. I wanted to make sure that she was okay. The minute that she passed away, I stopped working there. But I still continue my medical career because I found it fascinating about healing. I was more so healing, so that's why I'm in holistic wellness as well. But when I try to inspire and elevate my husband, it felt like I had a cap. It was like it hit the ceiling and then came right back down.
And his household was what? What did he grow up with?
He grew up with his mother and father for a certain period of time, but his father was abusive, so his mother left. And so she was left to raise 4 kids on her own, came from North Carolina to DC, and raised her sons. Now, I can say that because he didn't have his father in his life, he didn't know how to be a father figure for his children to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
he we was latchkey kids, so he
Mhm.
grew up to be a latchkey kid, and he seen his older sister do a lot of the taking care of them because her mom had to work. But like I said, when I would say certain things to him, I said, you got to be different because you didn't grow up with this. Why would you want that dynamic for your kids if you grew up with observing these issues? You want to be the opposite of that. And so I don't think that kind of registered with
It
him.
didn't register because it wasn't what he learned as a child. So if I'm learning what I see, because children learn by example, whatever example you set in your household is the rules they're going to follow. If you take different children who do not have both parents in their house and children who do, and you see the way women, children operate. You
Mm-hmm.
may have a child that's more abusive in school with other children because that's what they see in their household.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they learn to do. So I might fight on this girl. I might hit this little girl all the time when I shouldn't be because that's what I saw in my household. Or I'm going to sit here and play with these girls because all I have is a mother. In my household, I don't have a father. I didn't have a man to play with me. I don't want to play ball. I don't want to do this because for what? This is what I did in my household. I didn't have a man to show me these things in my household. So yes, they grow up and you can say it, but it's set. And until they're ready to change and see themselves for what is, we all learn right from wrong.
Yeah.
When you get to be an adult, you know right from wrong.
Yeah.
But when things are instilled in you, it's kind of hard to release those things, to say, this is not the way I was made. This is not the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Because as the Bible says, the man is the foundation. He is the first to set the
The
rules,
tone.
the
Yeah.
tones. He's
Mm-hmm.
the first one to do it. And then women follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the children follow.
Follow. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you don't have that, your girls grow up to be more masculine.
Yeah.
Your boys grow up to be more feminine. You have lazy men, and you don't understand why you're so lazy. Why you don't do this, you don't do that. Because I didn't have to.
Right.
I wasn't shown that this is what I'm supposed to do because I did not have a father in my house. For example, my children. I have 3 boys. 2 had one father and 1 has another father. Different. My baby, his father was in his life.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest 2, their father was not in their lives. But my brother-in-law, my brother Kevin, stepped in almost immediately. It's almost if he knew their father wasn't going to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So he stepped in immediately and showed my babies how to be a man, what to do. He didn't chastise them in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
He took them in the room and talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
He did not discipline them in front of people. Mm-hmm. He took them in the room and showed them what you're supposed to do. Yes, he spanked them because when they needed to be spanked.
Right.
He talked to them when they needed to be talked to. When they were going through girl issues, he talked to them. My middle son, was teased when they moved to California with them at a certain age because Keith had to be with Kevin. Mm-hmm. That's his father. Mm-hmm. So they moved to California with him, and BJ was teased. And of course, Keith had always been the best big brother in the world to him. He always looked after his brother. And he was like, he's being teased. This boy is picking on him. He would walk like this with his head down, and Kevin would inspire him. You are somebody. Right. You don't walk like that. You don't let anybody take that from you. Mm-hmm. Boys need that father figure as well as girls, because now you're teaching your daughters that this is how a man is supposed to treat you. He is a wonderful husband. And I'm not saying that he's the only wonderful man in the world, but he is a wonderful husband.
Example of a husband. Yes.
My sister could be a little controlling. Sorry, Angie. With him in the beginning, she could be a little controlling, but the more she learned her husband, the more I watched my sister get into that role. Mm-hmm. They don't have children of their own, but they were raising my children. Mm-hmm. And I watched her get into that role and say, I'm going to allow this man to do what he needs to do for these boys because I cannot do it as a woman.
Right.
I can't show them how to be a man.
Yeah.
I cannot. And then now they're married. One of my sons is married with 2 children, and he is an amazing father. He
Yeah.
loves his daughter. He loves his son. And I can see him, those same principles that Kevin installed in him, he's doing that with his children. And I thank God that I had that, a
Yeah.
family dynamic,
Yeah.
because I saw in my household where the money went, where you could see where you came from, things where you had things. When my father left, the money left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mom had to go and work. My mom had to do this. I mean, she always worked, but my mom had to she put her school on hold
Mm-hmm.
because she could not finish schooling while she was raising children. And she had time for nothing
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Just her dog, going to work, coming
Come
home,
home.
making sure her girls had the things that they need, food on the table. Yes, we had clothes, but we didn't have as many as we used to.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have. We were never without with her, but we were without in
Mm-hmm.
certain cases because things started to dwindle. I'm like, I can't get a new pair of shoes no more.
Mm-hmm.
No, not right now. You can't. And I didn't understand that as a child. That okay, well, I can't get no shoes. What is
Because
going?
yeah, what's going on?
Because of
Yeah.
what it was, because we didn't have 2 incomes,
Comes.
and not
Mm-hmm.
only when he left, he left. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't come back to say, I'm going to take care of my daughters. I'm going to take care of my household.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do these things for her. One daughter, yes, he did, but not all.
Mm-hmm.
So one daughter he did, but the rest of us he did not. He took care of his own self. He
Mm-hmm.
left, and he left his family. And that's another thing, men. You leave, and you leave your children. If you cannot be in a household with that woman, you do not leave your children, because now you leave your men to be feminine and you leave your girls to be masculine.
Masculine. Mm-hmm.
They don't know, almost like hermaphrodites. You don't know which way to go. I don't know how to be feminine. I don't know how to be masculine because I had nobody to show me that. Because as a mother doing 2 roles, I don't know. I don't know what to do now. I'm confused myself as a mother taking on all of these projects in my household, and
Mm-hmm.
I have no relief. No
Mm-hmm.
one's there to say, "Okay, baby, sit down."
Yeah.
No one's there to say, I'm gonna do this for the children while you just take a minute and
And
and,
get a
and rest.
breather.
Or
Mm-hmm.
I'll fix them something. I'll make a sandwich. You don't have to cook tonight.
Yeah.
Or I'll go out. I'll bring dinner home. Don't
Can
worry
I ask you
about
a
it.
question?
Yes, you can.
In reference to your dad, did he have both parents in the home?
He did, because he had his father wasn't, his biological father wasn't present, but my grandfather, who's amazing, my granddad, adopted him. So yes, he had
So
two
he had.
parents in the household.
So that mindset was an individuality mindset because he wasn't raised that way. So this spectrum of dynamics goes deep. It can go.
Well, he had a mother who kind of took to one child over him as
Okay.
well. And now my father, although he did have my grandfather, he would often go to his grandparents' house.
Mm. But what I'm saying is, he still had that structure where he saw what a man's
Oh
supposed to
yeah,
do.
absolutely.
So as he got grown, his own individuality and things that he wanted to do for himself kind of took over, because my father as well had both parents in the household, but he kind of, veered a little
Because
bit.
they go off and get other families. You
Yeah.
go off and get someone else, and you forget that you have this family here. And because my mother was such a strong woman,
Mm-hmm.
she can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got it. My mom had her father up until she was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So although she had brothers, she had 2 older brothers. The rest of her brothers are behind her.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9 boys, and it was 4 girls, excuse me. 9 boys and 3 girls, four girls. So she had her younger siblings, but she was there, and she helped take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
So she did have older brothers that were in her life, but they had their own families. They were off with their own families.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so she didn't always have a father figure. So she had to step into that role of being a little bit masculine. I
Mm-hmm.
watched my mom myself become that woman that I have to control this house. I have to make sure this house is well taken care of. And as women, we don't have the strength to hold the house up.
No. Mm-mm. It takes both
It
parties
takes
too.
both
Now, when
parties.
you're single, then you living in your single life, you really don't have anybody else to worry about except for you. But when you become together, even in the courting phase of a relationship, you're taking on two people. I think in the courting phase of the relationship, you guys should establish a vision for where this relationship is going. If you don't, then that's when you have, you children come in and play a part. Nobody's thinking about the future. And then, you're left, okay, well, let me figure this out. We're not compatible anymore because you're going one way and I'm going another.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never sat down and had that talk about what actually is the vision for us as a unit before the kids come. And I think that was my part, but I didn't have that male structure to tell me that, or to sit down with me and nurture me in that way, coming from my dad. I'm not saying that my father is a bad person, because he's not. I feel like the choices that he made and the way that it was done wasn't done in a setup type of way for me to thrive. I kind of started thriving after I took my own individual self and started saying, okay, I need to focus on this. He kind of took my brother under his wing, so my brother was able to learn. He's a master electrician, and so he learned how to fix and build things. Majority of the things I got in my house right now
Came from your
is
brother.
because my brother fixed it. And Eric, I love you so much, because he stepped
Good
in
man, good man.
with my boys and my children, because their fathers are not an active role in their life. Me, I couldn't. I've always known that I wanted to be a mother. And so
Yes, I do know
when
that.
I would keep everybody's kid.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I would keep everybody's baby, because I knew I wanted to be a mother. And so when I started seeing this picture not kind of folding out how I assumed and thought it was supposed to be, I had to go back and do the inner work and see where that stemmed from. And a lot of it stemmed from me not really taking an interest in really looking at what the dynamics is of a family. When I had kids, I knew that I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have kids even without that. That was so idiotic for me to think in that capacity, to have the kids without the father. Like, what?
Yeah,
And it wind up being like that. So I had to change my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It was one thing that I wanted to say that I kind of forgot, but this is an episode where you just keeping it all the way real, so you're gonna lose whatever
I
you're
wanted
thinking about.
to go back to relationships where some people get married early. My parents got married early. I don't think my parents were ready for that. It became marriage and immediately a baby, and they did not get to know each other in that in that first year. They didn't live together before they were married. She lived where she lived, he lived where he lived. They got
that's another good episode, because what does it stem from?
Yes.
From we want to keep it pure, but a lot of times, I never could understand that concept. How do you, not to get to know your mate before?
Yeah, you have to. They were high school sweethearts. I'm sure they knew each other, but marriage is completely different from that.
Yeah.
So when you get married and you're in a household with somebody, you have to sit down and discuss things. I don't think my father is a communicator. He God rest his soul. He was not a communicator. My mother was. My mom would try to talk things out. My mom would try to get things done. My mom would try to support, but my father gave up on a lot of things, including his family.
So that says, man, that you need to be emotionally intelligent to have conversations.
Yes.
Because if you don't, then you don't know how to communicate. And I think a lot of men, when things are being pointed out to them from the perspective of the woman, they feel like, oh, here's another thing that she's telling me that I'm doing wrong. But you got to be an active listener.
And instead, and women, and the way you approach your man, deliverance is everything. You don't want to come at him so accusive and everything you do, like you're doing wrong, you're this, you're that. You don't want to do that. You come to him lovingly, because that's what we were created to do.
Yeah.
We come to him lovingly.
Yeah.
And we sit our mates down, and we don't do this in front of our children. We don't do this in front of people. I'm going to go into that because I had a habit of doing that with Timothy's dad.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that in front of children and in front of other people. We sit down and discuss things civically.
Yeah, you right. You right, sis.
Mm-hmm. I can't speak today, y'all.
It's good.
But that's the way we do things. You do not belittle your man. And men, you don't belittle your women either. Mm-hmm. You don't. You have to have that loving arrangement before mm-hmm. anything else. You have to understand who she is, and he has to understand who he is. Mm-hmm. In order for you to have a healthy relationship, and then have healthy relationships with your children. So we're not creating feminine men and masculine women. Yeah. You see, you have to have that
balance.
That balance is everything. Key. It's everything in a household. It teaches your children that this is the way that life is supposed to be. It also teaches your children to communicate with other people. Yeah. You do not run over top of somebody. You do not try to boss somebody and make them do what it is you want them to do. They may not understand what you're asking them to do. Yeah. So once you break that down to them and you say, look, we need to talk about this. This hurts me. Yeah. This, when you say this, and explain why it hurts you. This is what I've been through. That's why I don't like it when you talk. But I think that he has to also be receptive to what she's saying. Absolutely. Because what may be bothering her at the time, and vice versa for him, because you might not see it as a big problem, but doesn't mean that it's not a big problem to me. And I feel like if you're doing something that is hurting me, acknowledge it. Because people, men, women, majority that I find is men, be like, you trying to change me. You have to adapt. When you come to a relationship, there has to be some adaptations. Yeah, there has to be some change. Yeah, you are coming as you were separate. Now you're coming as one unit. Mm-hmm. So you guys have to be on the same page and think almost the same. Yeah. Especially when children become part of that family. Yeah. Once you start introducing children into the marriage, then yes, you have to be able to communicate as a unit. How are you going to be disagreeing on things and you both sitting there with your children and they looking at you like, they're confused. Yeah. They don't know what to do, who to believe. Am I supposed to be is my mom in charge or is my dad in charge, or are they both in charge? Right. Your children should never have to feel like I can't come to any of y'all because this is how y'all acting. They never. Hey, thank you for joining us in our first episode of Sassy Ladies. We had some technical difficulties. We are working those technical difficulties out in the background, but we'd like to thank you for joining our first episode, even though it was cut off. We will revisit that same topic on another episode. We'd like to give a big shout out to Ball and Ball Communications as our sponsor. They are located in Laurel, Maryland at 14213 Cherry Lane Court. You can reach out to Mr. Ball himself for your vehicle needs, government vehicle, law enforcement vehicle needs, and they can be reached at 301-490-1587. So once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us for our very first episode of Sassy Ladies, where we talked about masculinity versus femininity and where that role stemmed from for us women. As you can see, my pooch is in the background. He keeps jumping in and out, but nonetheless, we like to show you some love. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next episode without the technical issues. Love you. And if no one told you that they love you today, this sister right here does. Bye-bye.